polished silver bullets sat before him in a line. He hoped that they would work as per their design. He almost hoped they wouldn't work. It was his love who had to die. He began to load the gun as a tear fell from his eye. Paul had known Cassandra almost his entire life. Once at only 7 he proclaimed she'd be his wife. Their love grew more and more with each passing year. The kind of love in fairy tales, but could its end be near? After 15 years of wedded bliss, things began to change. Cassandra didn't seem herself. She was acting rather strange. She would randomly disappear and stay out the entire night. He hadn't noticed at the time the moon was always full and bright. Paul had heard the rumors of the animal attacks. Some thought it may be wolves traveling in packs. Of course, the werewolf theory was also spoken of. He didn't think much about it. Paul's thoughts were of his love. One night he followed her to see where she would go. He couldn't take it anymore. He just had to know. She must be having an affair. What else could it be? Thought Paul as he followed her, moving from tree to tree. On a bench in the park, Cassandra approached a man. Paul's fears were realized when she took him by the hand. She led the man to a copse of woods into which they disappeared. A growl came from the woods. This is much worse than he feared. "My God, this man's the werewolf," screamed Paul as he ran to save her life. First he saw the man, then the werewolf, but he did not see his wife. The werewolf turned and looked at him with Cassandra's eyes. He'd looked into them all his life. They were easy to recognize. Cassandra mauled the man. He watched her eat his heart. With each shake of her massive head, she ripped the man apart. He could only watch in horror as the man's parts flew through the air. Paul was paralyzed in disbelief. All he could do was stare. She looked up from what was left, turned to Paul and growled. Fast as lightning, she stood before him, raised her head and howled. Paul looked at her, eyes full of tears, as out loud he began to pray. She rubbed her snout gently across his cheek, then turned and ran away. Now Paul sits here, gun in hand, tears flowing from his eyes. As darkness falls upon the land, the full moon begins to rise. Cassandra doesn't even say goodbye as he hears the closing door. Paul gets up and follows her, a bit closer than before. He not only has to take a life, but also save one if he can. Paul didn't know if it would work, but for now it was his plan. He couldn't kill her in her human form. That was just a fact. The only way he felt he might was to catch her in the act. Cassandra briskly walked along the empty moonlit street. Then up ahead, Paul saw a man, the one she'd planned to meet. She took him by the hand and into the woods they went. Paul hurried up to get to them before the man was rent. Paul raised the gun and fired a shot straight up in the sky. This love is much too strong, he thought. I cannot let it die. He ran to her, grabbed her paw, and gave himself a scratch. If nothing else, once again, they would be a perfect match. Now they're always on the move, gory deaths left in their wake. Their love grows ever stronger with each life they choose to take. When they feast upon their kill, they always share the heart. A sign of love, you could say, or perhaps their favorite part.